JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones. And in the news, man stabbed and killed in Morant Bay Market. A man was killed and his attackers in custody following a stabbing incident at the Morant Bay Market in St. Thomas. The deceased has been identified as 39-year-old Elroy Williams of Friendship Pen in the parish. The police say sometime after 1 p.m. on Monday, Williams was standing along West Street in Morant Bay when he was allegedly attacked by the suspect, who reportedly used a knife to stab him in his neck. It is further reported that Williams, upon being stabbed, ran and later collapsed inside the market. He was reportedly pursued by his attacker, who again stabbed him. Williams was assisted to hospital by the police, where he was pronounced dead. The attacker subsequently turned himself in to the police. Man killed in confrontation with police. The police say an unidentified man was killed earlier today during a confrontation with the police in Painland, Kingston 14. According to the constabulary, officers from the Specialized Operations Branch were conducting an operation in the area as a response to an uptick in gang-related violence in the area. The police said while conducting the operation, a silver Nissan AD wagon was seen speeding through the area, shortly after which several explosions were heard. The gunmen also reportedly fired at the police. The police said officers pursued the vehicle through the community and onto Waltham Park Road, Kingston 11, where it collided with two other vehicles in the vicinity of the intersection with Gretna Green Avenue. According to the police, several men alighted from the vehicle and a firefight ensued. After the confrontation ended, the police discovered that one man had been shot. He was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. The other men reportedly escaped. The constabulary said no member of the police team was injured, and a Taurus pistol with 6 rounds of ammunition was recovered at the scene. Westmoreland Eastern Magisterial Recount set for Friday. A magisterial recount for the Westmoreland Eastern constituency has been set for Friday. Lawyers representing the Jamaica Labour Party JLP filed the application this morning. Attorney-at-law O'Neill Brown, a member of the JLP legal team, says documents will be served on Luther Buchanan, the incumbent People's National Party PNP candidate, who was declared the winner of the September 3 election, as well as the Electoral Office of Jamaica EOJ and the returning officer for Westmoreland Eastern. The JLP's Daniel Lawrence is seeking the recount after Saturday's official counting by the EOJ. The seat was previously declared in favor of Lawrence following the preliminary count last Thursday, which saw him polling 4,831 to Buchanan's 4,823. However, the count ended in a tie with both men receiving 4,834 votes. Approximately 107 ballots were rejected. This saw the returning officer for Westmoreland Eastern casting the deciding vote in favor of Buchanan. In deciding who would be the next member of parliament, the names of both candidates were placed in an empty ballot box. The returning officer then pulled a name from the box. Buchanan's name was chosen. Political analyst Mark Wignall shot. Talk show host and political analyst Mark Wignall was this morning shot in a drive-by gun attack on Red Hills Road, St. Andrew. Wignall was reportedly on his phone at an area known as Common on the Popular Strip when gunmen in a car drove up and opened fire. Wignall and 2 other persons were shot in the incident. Wignall has since come out to say that his wound is not life-threatening and he is recovering. Wignall says he does not believe it was a deliberate attack on his person. It was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. St. Thomas man charged with father's murder granted $400,000 bail. A 25-year-old St. Thomas man charged with the murder of his father has been offered $400,000 bail. His attorney made the application on Friday. Daryl Deans was ordered to return to court on November 13. The police report that on Sunday, August 30, the accused and his father, Harold, 57, had a dispute at their house in Willowfield in the parish. Harold was reportedly stabbed twice by his son. The injured man was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead, while his son was taken into custody. He was subsequently charged with murder. DNA samples dead end in New York's murder, says cop. DNA samples taken from 6 persons of interest and close associates of murdered American model Desiree Gibbon have not led to the arrest or identity of the New Yorker's killer 3 years after her death. The body of Gibbon, who was staying at her grandmother's Gibbs Chateau bed and breakfast facility in Mount Salem, was found by a groundsman in bushes along the Long Hill Main Road in St. James with the throat slashed on November 25, 2017, days after she went missing. Intensive investigation is still being carried out in the St. James Division to locate several persons who had contact with the deceased prior to her death for the purpose of conducting interviews, and the recording of statements where necessary, Senior Superintendent of Police Michael Phipps stated in a report. Revealing that some 14 witness statements have so far been recorded, including that of the person who found the body, Phipps said that footage from closed-circuit television at Gibbs Chateau or a nearby security company has not enhanced the investigation. Gibbon was last seen alive at Gibbs Chateau. Data from her local cellular phone, which remains in police possession, and her international Apple iPhone have not advanced the investigation. Investigators were of the opinion that this could have greatly assisted with the investigation, Phipps, who is in charge of crime in Area 1, said. The investigating officers seemed confident in their role as investigators, noting that after locating and taking DNA samples from the first person of interest, the samples were sent to the government forensic lab for analysis. An analytical comparison was done by the Forensic Medical Institute in Kingston on the buccal swab taken from the person. A certificate was prepared and handed to the investigator, which indicated that the traces of DNA found on the deceased were not that of the person of interest, said the policeman. Other buccal swabs were taken, including from a family member of the deceased, but the SSP said that the results excluded that individual as a person of interest. The police are also denying any absence of contact with Andrea Gibbon, mother of the deceased, who in an open letter last weekend called on Prime Minister Andrew Holness to intervene in helping to find her daughter's killer. I want answers. I need justice for my beautiful daughter. She was my world, my life, my fame. She's the best thing I ever did. I'm sure you can say the same when you look at your sons Adam and Matthew, the mother pleaded to Holness. However, Phipps said that investigators have been giving regular updates to the mother on any new developments. PM pledges to delegate more power to ministers, promises 150,000 jobs. Prime Minister Andrew Holness used his post-inauguration speech on Monday to signal a shift in how he'd manage his emerging cabinet, suggesting he would devolve more power and authority to his ministers while demanding accountability. Holness, who was being sworn in at King's House for the 3rd time in 9 years, also emphasized that he would not tolerate missteps and the flouting of good governance on the premise of circumventing bureaucracy. He appointed Dr. Horace Chang as Deputy Prime Minister, the first time since the Golding administration that anyone had been elevated to the position. Holness had been criticized in his last term in office for not demonstrating that he sufficiently trusted his ministers, keeping a watchful eye on veterans and micromanaging those he had stacked into the super ministry that had oversight of economic growth and job creation, while maintaining de facto responsibility for the portfolio. In addition to holding the portfolios of defense and economic growth and job creation, Holness had assumed responsibility for energy, science, technology, education, youth, and information. Part of my job will be to do a constant assessment and evaluation of the team. I'll have to play more the role now of coach rather than player to make sure that any strategic gaps, any tactical shortcomings, that those are immediately corrected, and that when we're taking the long view, we're actually looking in the right direction, Holness said, after 4 key ministers of government were sworn in at King's House on Monday. The appointments of Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Dr. Nigel Clark, Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Christopher Tufton, Health, and Chang, National Security. represent the core of Holness's inner circle that are expected to lead the country's recovery out of the clutches of the coronavirus pandemic, which has drained the budget and caused the economy to sputter. Earlier, the Prime Minister warned that every member of the government must understand that the 33-seat majority won by his Jamaica Labour Party in last Thursday's general election was not a mandate for arrogance. No princes or princesses were elected, Holness charged during his inaugural speech as he officially commenced his new administration. Holness told a gathering of less than 50 people at King's House that the priority will be managing the disease outbreak while keeping the economy afloat with the coronavirus knowing the community transmission phase. The task ahead of us has to be carefully managed. It is not one where we can, without strategic deployment of our resources, achieve the goals and objectives that we want, Holness said on Monday. Johnson Smith told journalists that the task of highest priority was to convene a meeting of the External Support Coordination Committee, an interministerial mechanism. We need to sit back at the table, assess where we are, assess what the new needs are in this new phase to see how best that COVID-19 recovery can be supported, Johnson Smith told journalists after the ceremony. Similar sentiments were expressed by the finance minister. Holness announced plans by his administration to create 150 jobs and to pump $14 billion in support of business, tourism interests, and farmers over the next 3 years. The Prime Minister announced that the funding provisions will include $10 billion in loan guarantees to support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, $3 billion in agri-care support for farmers and fisherfolk, $1.2 billion in grants to small and medium-sized tourism operators to be deployed through the Exim Bank, and $500 million in grants for micro and small community-based businesses. We will build and strengthen the institutions that safeguard the sustainability of government finances, low and stable inflation, foreign exchange reserve adequacy, and financial sector stability, the Prime Minister said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.